Big Buzz next.
They are brilliant geniuses. Some are changing the world, some are breaking records, but what makes them most impressive is that most of them aren't even old enough to drive.
Sugar is for little boys who always clean up their toys.
Adora Svitak is an 8-year-old literary prodigy who has written hundreds of short stories and dozens of poems equaling more than 380,000 words. She can also type over 80 words per minute. How's that for overachieving?
Time now for our Friday Making a Difference report, inspiring kids to learn to love reading and writing. Adults have devoted lots of attention and effort to that subject, but in one community, it's another child who's figured out how to motivate her peers to use their imaginations and develop what she hopes will be a lifelong love. Making a difference tonight, here's NBC's Peter Alexander.
To get a good read on Adora Svitak, watch her eyes and her fingers. This is a little girl with big stories to tell.
That's enough! I jumped up from my seat near the cool gushing fountain.
For this homeschooled 8-year-old, reading and writing are like breathing.
With writing, I can express myself really and share my ideas and just let my thoughts flow out.
That flow is more like an 80 words a minute flood. Adora's written nearly 400 short stories, even published her first book last year. And when this little grown-up goes to school, it's not to learn, but to lead.
Okay, the crocodile's in the story.
Armed with her imagination and a PowerPoint presentation, Adora travels from school to school. Her audience on this day, 500 students, most older than she is. Nationwide, students are becoming better readers. Still, more than a third of fourth graders can't read at the level they should. And at this school, Adora's trying to change that. Even tutoring one-on-one.
Well, maybe you could elaborate more on exactly
Inspiring
why.
7th grader Raven Dean.
I didn't think I could actually do that, but I did try and it did work.
In 8 months, Adora has reached 10 schools in the Seattle area and nearly 2,000 students. Did she make you want to write even more?
Definitely, because she wrote so much, it made me think I can write so much.
And what's at stake if students don't follow Adora's lead?
We will become more an uneducated society. We'll misunderstand each other, distrust each other.
One young girl who's teaching her generation that loving to read and write isn't a novel idea. Peter Alexander, NBC News, Redmond, Washington.
Speak to those of equal rank and higher.
Tonight, the remarkable story of a person who's dedicated to helping children become better readers and writers. But she's not a teacher or a parent. Cairo 7's Mona Locke introduces us to a very special 8-year-old girl.
Adora Svitak is a remarkable child. By the time she was only 7 years old, she had written hundreds of stories. A California publishing house was so impressed, they published her book, Flying Fingers. And now this child prodigy has a message for other children. Her fingers fly across the keyboard. Adora is creating yet another story. The words and the ideas flow with amazing speed.
Usually I write every day, and I've got 10 stories I'm working on right now. I like to switch back and forth.
She's not your typical second grader.
I read about 2 to 3 books a day. I like to write fantasy and read fantasy. I also like historical fiction. Those are 2 of my favorites.
When she was 5, her parents noticed something unusual. She loved to write, creating pages at a time. Adora hopes what she writes will inspire other children. And with her imagination and a PowerPoint presentation, she's been giving Seattle area school kids advice, emphasizing the importance of reading and writing.
You can read and understand things better, and you can write to learn how to put that into words and let your creativity flow.
And while Adora is exceptional, Joyce Svitak believes many other children also have the potential to excel.
Practice really helps.
Adora's book, Flying Fingers, will be translated into a Chinese-English version by Publishing House in Beijing in January. Adora says when she grows up, she'd like to continue writing and aspires to be a teacher or an artist. Back to you.
Adora Svitak is a published author and an American media darling. She's also just 8 years old, and this week over from the US to take her particular brand of inspiration to primary schools across Europe. She's asking children her age to prize themselves away from their computers, to observe, to write, and to use their imaginations. Alex Thompson went along to watch Adora in action at Chisenhale Primary School in London's East End.
Hello everybody, I'm very glad to be here. My name's Adora Svitak and I come from the USA in a state called Washington, which is in the upper corner.
You said today that you've got one book published, but you've written, I think you said 300 or 400 stories already. Where do you get your ideas from?
Well, I get my ideas from the world I see around me, from animals, from people, from places. Is anybody's birthday coming up? When's your birthday?
6th of October.
Oh, so it's really near. What I'm going to do now is write a little description of a birthday cake. So basically, the second one gives you more information about the cake, and it makes you feel that it's really actually delicious and that it's something you'd want to eat. And the first one's okay, but it doesn't give you as much detail.
Now, watching you in action today, the audience, you really had them. They were spellbound, loads of questions afterwards. But what would you say is your essential message as you travel around the world, speaking to other children about story writing?
Well, my message is that you should be very creative, you should let your ideas flow, and you can take your inspiration from anywhere. And you can really express yourself through writing and help other people understand you better. What's your question? How long have I been writing for? I've been writing, well, right now I'm 8, so you could say I've been writing for 4 years.
Which stories do you really enjoy reading?
I don't like books that have really, really simple vocabulary and are kind of patronizing, as if they're really specially designed for kids. I also like stories with strong women characters. Why do I like writing? Because I can share my ideas and express my thoughts, and also I can share my thoughts with other people so other people understand what I'm thinking and stuff like that. I can express myself creatively. Thank you.
Now, Adora Svitak reads 3 books a day. She's written 400 short stories and nearly 200 poems, and she likes French philosophy. Rather unusual for someone who's only 8. Adora and her mum Joyce are with me now. Good morning to you. Oh, no, I forgot to mention that you've also had a book published which is called Flying Fingers, which is inspiration and helpful tips for writing stories.
Yeah,
So you started writing stories, as I understand it, when you were 4?
Yes, I wrote out longhand. I started writing when I was 4, but I started typing more when I was 6, and those stories became more mature.
Right, so that was hence the flying fingers, because they fly over the keyboards, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Aren't you, in your stories? Why is that?
I want to portray girls as more of the, I want to portray girls as showing readers that girls can really be strong and girls can make a difference in the world and girls are equal to men.
And why did you feel that so strongly, though? Was that because whenever you'd read stories about young people, that the girls didn't seem to be very strong?
Yeah, a lot of stories, like King Arthur, stuff like that. Then the women were they just walked all around and didn't really do anything of importance.
Generally.
Yeah.
They just had to look attractive a lot of time. Andrew actually thinks that's exactly how women should stay.
Yeah, but that's the old days, I can tell you. It's all changed around now, thanks to the work that you're putting into those books.
So, Adora, you're trying to persuade children, aren't you, to do more reading?
Yes, I am.
More reading and writing.
Yeah, I'm trying to persuade children, and I'm going to libraries and bookstores and schools to sort of talk to them and try to inspire them.
And do you understand why they like computer games so much?
I think that once they start, it might get addictive or something.
You're not into them?
I'm not into them personally, but I think maybe if they feel they don't have anything else to do, then sometimes they just get addicted to them.
So why do you love reading so much?
Well, I love reading because it gives me a chance to share my thoughts and...
That's when you're writing, I'm talking about when you're reading.
Oh, sorry. So when I'm reading, it gives me a chance to really learn about other people and give me a chance to understand their thoughts and give me a chance to learn about the world.
And new words, I know, because I know you quite like a new word here and there, don't you?
Well, I'm going to be a writer, probably.
I'm going to
continue being a writer. But I might also want to be a teacher and a journalist.
That would be fantastic. Well, Adora, I'm sure you'll achieve all those things. Thank you very much, Adora. Thank you very much.
First female president of the United States, Adora Svitak. What odds can I get, John? Thank you very much indeed for coming in this morning. That's it from
Now here's an amazing story. She's already an accomplished author. She's just 9 years old. And today the child prodigy made a stop at a local middle school to share some of her work.
That's the story of the great pirate Blackbeard who put firecrackers under his hat.
She's written more than 400 stories and poems and published her first book by the time she was just 7 years old. Today, child prodigy Adora Svitak presented some of her work to students at the Longwood Middle School in Middle Island.
I was inspired because I wanted to share my ideas with the rest of the world. I felt like I observed all these things, but it wasn't as much. It was funner if I actually put my ideas down, and so I just decided to write a book.
The 9-year-old from Seattle started writing when she was 4 years old.
A role model, and it's so hard to get the kids to want to love to write and to research and do all the great things that they need to do to meet the standards. She's going to be an inspiration for them because she is their age.
And what does the future hold for this 9-year-old?
I want to inspire other children to read and write.
Please welcome 8-year-old Adora and her mom, Joyce, to the show. Welcome, Mom. Adora, let's talk about this. You have published this book, which is Flying Fingers, Master the Tools of Learning Through the Joy of Writing. And this is stories and writing tips from a 7-year-old author. You were 7 when you published this book.
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you think that's normal?
Well, I guess it could be if everyone who is 7 published a book, but I guess not everybody does it.
Not everybody does it. When did she start expressing an interest in writing? When did you learn how to read?
Well, 3.5. She has always expressed interest in reading because my husband read to them all the time when they're just, babies. And at 3.5, she started reading on her own chapter books. And I didn't believe her.
3.5?
Yes. At first, I didn't believe her. She said, I can read to you. So, from that time on, she has always picked the books that higher than her level. When you go to the library, you always see the levels. She never go by that. She always go beyond.
And then when did you go and buy this computer so that she started typing? You were how old right now? You're 8, right?
Yeah.
How many words a minute do you type?
About 60 to 80 words per minute.
All of a sudden, I just started feeling inept. Okay, 60 to 80 words a minute that you type. For you to bang out one of your short stories, how long does it take you to write a story?
Oh, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Yeah.
So you write one for 3 weeks, go back and dust it off, and it's perfect, then move on to the next one. You also read multiple books at one time.
Yeah.
Where's the teacher of the high school people around here? Do you hear this girl? She reads she reads 3 books at the same time, all the time. She's writing 2 or 3 stories at the same time. What do you want to be in life when you grow up? What are you going to be?
Well,
President?
I just probably want to be a writer, but I probably also have other jobs too.
Along the way, a couple other jobs, right?
Yeah.
But I think if you keep, you are already getting ready to publish book number 2, is that right?
Yeah.
What is that book going to be about?
It's going to be her poetry collection, about 150 poems. It's called Dancing Fingers.
Wait a minute. She's got 400 books, 400 stories already, 150 poems. What else do you do? Do you draw? Do you paint?
Yeah, I like drawing a lot, and I also like cooking.
Cooking?
Yeah.
Cooking? What do you cook?
Oh, pizza, that kind of stuff, brownies.
Brownies? You get in there and mix it all up?
Yeah, with my sister.
With your sister? Okay, so, all right, so you're cooking. Do you play piano? You play any instruments?
Used to.
Yeah.
used to?
Now I dedicate most of my...
Most of your work is to writing?
Yeah.
You're currently writing a book, writing a story, about a young prince. Is that right?
Yeah.
See, I heard about this story. I like the... And just tell them what the story's about so they get to know it.
Well, basically the story is about a young boy who, his father is a warrior and his brother is like a very warrior-like. But he's kind of a peaceful kind of person and he doesn't like war. And so he runs away and he meets lots of people and he learns about different cultures. And then I plan at the end of the story to make him like come back and become king and rule the most peaceful reign in the entire world.
And right now you base the current tyrant king on what character?
Well, an exaggerated version of President Bush.
Wait, she said an exaggerated version of President, exaggerated. And this is all coming out of this brain?
Yeah.
When's the story going to be done, you think?
Oh, maybe a few more days. The week, maybe.
A few more, okay.
She's been writing about 7 days, and that's about 12,000 words so far.
12,000 words in 7 days. When you finish it, can I see a copy of it? Can I read that story?
Sure.
I'm excited. Just send it to me. I might even put it up on our website so people can read it if you want me to.
Okay.
Is that okay? Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Adora, please. Oh, wait. I got to go to break, but I almost forgot something. Tell them where the proceeds where some of the proceeds from your book are going.
Well, I plan to donate the proceeds from the sales of my book to the National Education Association, and I am also going to auction off my work to raise money to help the victims of Hurricane Katrina rebuild the libraries and schools, so that other people have books to read.
And again, the book that's out right now is called Flying Fingers, the book that's coming out.
It's called Dancing Fingers.
Dancing Fingers, and it's about Adora, and the Dancing Fingers is about her poetry. This one is just a group of short stories. Take a little break. We'll be back right after this.
She's a pint-sized girl making a huge impact on children across the nation. Northwest Cable News' Greg Copeland introduces us to an author unlike any other.
330,000 words and counting. She's a young writer who definitely lets her fingers do the talking. From ancient Egypt to the Renaissance, she's putting her imagination to good use. This is her first book titled Flying Fingers. We have 8-year-old Adora Svitak joining us now in studio to talk about the brand new book. Thanks for coming in today. You spent a lot of time at the keyboard. What's it like?
I just like putting my stories onto paper, so it's really fun for me.
You're getting a lot of praise, not for just the amount of words you type. This is a 250-page book, but you're getting a lot of praise for the words you use and how you write. Tell me about your writing style.
I like to use a variety of writing, but mostly I just do fantasy and historical fiction because those are my two favorites.
Those are your two favorites. They're very conversational pieces, a lot of characters in there talking. Where do you come up with the storylines?
I usually, when I just begin the story, they usually come to me really easily. It sort of just follows the rest of the story.
Now, having the story is one thing. Being able to write it or type it is another. You're 8 years old and you type, did you tell me 70 words a minute?
Yeah, about.
And you start 70 words a minute, 70 words a minute. And you started just 2 years ago when you were 6. How was that getting acquainted with the keyboard?
My mom just bought me a laptop, so I liked to do the keyboard. It's just really fun.
What's a day in the life of Adora? You get up in the morning, do you go to school, do you come home? How much time do you spend on the keyboard?
Well, I'm homeschooled, so we really have school in the afternoon. So I just spend most of the morning writing stories, and then usually I just play a little bit with my sister, read a bit, maybe draw, and then in the afternoon we have class.
What advice do you have for, I guess, other aspiring young writers, other people your age who maybe have not found a way to write their first book at 8 years old?
I would tell them just to be creative as they can, not to worry about making mistakes, just letting their ideas get onto paper.
8-year-old Adora Svitak is writing and publishing books, and not just in the US, but in China, Korea, Taiwan, and the UK. She's with us to talk about her book Flying Fingers that she co-authored with her mother. Thank you for joining us today, Adora.
Thank you for inviting me.
How did you discover your love for reading and writing?
My dad always read to us when we were really little, so I always had this love of reading. And then writing came because my mom hired babysitters who kind of taught us to write, and then I just began to create stories.
How much do you write every week, Adora, and what do you like to write?
I like to write about mostly fantasy. And I like historical fiction also. I like just a variety of things. Every day I write about 1 to 2, sometimes 3 hours.
Tell us about Flying Fingers and how parents and children can use this book together.
Flying Fingers has 9 of my stories and also how to do parts, tips, and commentary about stories from my mother. These tips are for parents and educators on how to guide their children to write creatively.
In what ways do you hope Flying Fingers helps other children?
I hope Flying Fingers will inspire other children to read and write more. I hope that it will also give parents a chance to kind of learn how to coach their children better. I hope that people enjoy reading it and that people will get, will think that my stories and poems are pretty good and really get some fun in reading it.
So how fast do you type?
Now I type around 80 to 90 words per minute. I was around 6 years old when I began typing. My mom bought me a used black laptop.
So how do you come up with all your ideas?
Just from everyday things I see, from a fence to the flowers behind it to a huge spiky tree. I can just create a whole story from a black cat and a black house or anything that I see. I also cover current events with my numerous blogs. I have around 3 now.
Svitak is a remarkable prodigy and living proof that it's never too early to start reading, writing, and using technology. Her book, Flying Fingers, is a useful tool for any parent to share with their child.
In her head.
Her feet don't even touch the floor, and yet this 7-year-old can do what few her age can do. She's typing. Short stories that she's written, one after another, after another.